I'm just.
Welcome everyone to SVK Media Network. Cisco's Virtual Kitchen. We have a seafood extravaganza. Like that?
I like it.
Did you like what I said? Extravagant. I can't even say that word today.
Extravaganza.
Extravaganza. Anyways, we're going to learn a little bit about seafood today by... Do they classify you like a seafood expert?
There's nobody as a seafood expert. I have knowledge on seafood. There's a ton more to learn before I become a seafood expert, my friend. I have a lot of knowledge though. Well, there's just seafood's different than chicken and beef. You know, there's a couple of things you learn. There's those categories you learn about chicken and beef, and you're good. Seafood has really a huge range of it, and there's just so much to know about it, and a lot of it's just learning all these new years. So sorry, the dishwasher's going. It's going to turn off any second now. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay.
It is a live kitchen at the end of the day.
Ones? Those 1 minute ones are good.
Yeah. 1 minute, 4 minutes ago. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Boom.
There you go.
All right. My apologies. Yes.
So what are we talking about today, Chef? Chef, you haven't been on the show. First of all,
I haven't been on the show for a while. Why is that, Jay?
I don't know.
Do you not like?
Because you're busy. Because you're busy.
I'm a busy man, but that's okay. I am Poyan of Ocean Mama Seafood here, corporate culinary director, where we import all the seafood from around the world for lovely customers like Cisco. So we're here today to do a seafood discussion. I know Jay wants to talk about seafood dishes and seafood menus for the summertime, but the discussion is always about sustainability and cost cutting, as Jay likes to talk about it. So Jay, why don't you lead us off of what you want me to talk about?
So I have some questions here that I want to ask.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, I want to talk a little bit about, we're going to go to a commercial first. I got this wicked commercial I got to play. But I want to talk about what some of the misconceptions about seafood that you encounter, Chef Poyan, both consumers and industry professionals sometimes think about. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And then I also want to talk about a little bit about the climate change and the impact on the seafood industry and what measures are being taken to, deal with some of these effects that we're seeing right across the world. And is it affecting our seafood? Does that sound deep?
Short answer, yes. Deep like the sea, Jay. Deep like the sea. But why don't you go to your...
Did that sound special?
You are special. Right after these short breaks, we'll be back.
All right, do you want to roll us into this commercial?
You go right ahead, Jay. Brought to you by this wonderful sponsor.
It's not about turning on the lights, starting the grill, and prepping the food. You put on an apron, flip the open sign, and ready for the day. Regulars sit at the same spot and tell stories that bring smiles. Some days can be chaos, challenging. You persevere because you have an undaunted passion, a calling to make people feel welcome and warm. Guests come and go, some you may never see again. The restaurant business is heaven and hell. It's laughter and tears, forever changing and extremely challenging. When the day is done, feeling exhausted, yet somehow content, you smile, knowing tomorrow you get to do it all again, and you wouldn't change a thing.
There you go, Chef. Was that deep?
It was deep. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having us. All right, Jay.
Jay, let's get seafood.
Your viewers would like to go into seafood and go into all the lovely questions you had. Short answer, yes. Climate change, of course, is changing our waters. The acidity levels and temperatures of waters are changing, which means spawning patterns and all that lovely stuff. Now, when it comes to the wild fisheries, as much as it needs to be captained and it needs to be regulated, it's very hard to regulate the open waters, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we don't see, but we like to listen to our partners like MSC and other certification boards to kind of guide the world of what they should be doing. Should and what they do is very different, right? So where you source your product, we're lucky, we're on the West Coast. We got a lot of fishermen here that we support. Ocean Mama Seafood directly purchases from the fishermen, and we make sure that they're paid right away. So it is a wonderful relationship that way too, and it's a give and take. We make sure we get the fresh products, but at the end of the day, everything, most of these days, it is frozen at sea. The technology's changed so much that frozen at sea is an excellent option. 99% of the product you see in the shelves anyway are frozen at sea
90.
until it is in season. I would say so, absolutely, until it's in season. Then when it's in season, you can have your wild salmon fresh, you can have your halibut
Oh,
fresh,
okay.
right? If it's not in season, you're really not getting it fresh unless it's a farm product. And farmed and wild is always a discussion.
So, chef,
Never or, Jay.
never,
Wild
never
and
or,
farmed.
never
No,
or.
when was the last time you had a wild chicken, Jay? How was that tasty wild chicken of yours? Doesn't
I have a question
exist,
for
right?
you. I want to go. Can
yes.
you go back to the frozen and fresh? Have you
Yeah,
ever
frozen
done a
and fresh.
comparison side by side and like even tried to find the difference?
Of course, there is a difference, but it really matters how the handling was, how it froze, how fast it froze, and how
Okay.
you defrost it, right? So I have a fisherman who freezes his salmon. It takes an hour on the boat. By the time he catches it, it's frozen in an hour. Amazing product. But he tells me, Poyan, do not leave this fish in the fridge overnight. Why would you do that? A lot of people do that because the slower you defrost something, the lower the slower the cell structures rupture, which
Hmm.
gives you a better defrosted product. The whole sogginess of frozen product comes from the fact that water expands when it freezes. So the faster you freeze something, the less it expands as well. So that means the cells of the protein don't
Hmm.
rupture while they're freezing, and then when it defrosts, it seeps all that water out. That's kind of what's happening in the freezing process.
Oh,
So
okay.
there is things called, we have a couple of shrimp options and a couple of fish products that are cryogenically frozen in super cold water, super cold seawater, and that is an amazing product too because it just gets frozen better. So
Oh,
this fisherman of mine says, just because it's cryovac product too, right? He's like, just run it under cold water. It defrosts in 15 minutes, and now you have a fresher product. I do that all the time. I also put it in the fridge all the time. For you as an end consumer, you won't see the difference. We see a little bit of difference between the water content that comes out. It's very minuscule compared to what you should really worry about. So as long as you handle it properly, buy it from a good resource, it's all good. Now, double frozen is a whole other problem. People buy it frozen whole, defrost it, fillet it, freeze it, and then sell it to you. Now that's double frozen. Quality is always not amazing, and you can really tell. And that's usually the price point too. So if you have wild product that's really good pricing, usually it's because it's double frozen,
double
and
frozen.
that's what that means. Double frozen, yeah. Somebody freezes it whole, waits the season, and they can't sell it, so they sell it to a processor. They defrost it, they fillet it, and they sell it as a new product. But now it's double frozen, right? So it's gone
Oh,
through that
wow.
freezing process too many times. But albacore tuna is different, where tuna can be taken from frozen and taken down to those beautiful loins that you see. And you don't actually have to defrost tuna to do that because there's special machines that you can literally shave off the outsides and such. And because tuna doesn't have those bones inside like salmon does, you don't
Yeah.
have to defrost it to take anything out. And that's the problem when it comes to salmon and such, is that you have to defrost it to debone it, right? So that's why usually albacore tuna is only frozen once, ahi and all that lovely stuff. So actually, this is a ahi tuna that I have here. So these products are usually excellent quality, frozen, because there's only been frozen once. So tuna is
So
usually a really good option for that.
now, chef, you just cut that.
Yeah.
You just diced it. It doesn't come that way.
We actually sell it pre-diced. Honestly, these
Really?
days for restaurants and food service, the less labor, the better. The fresher as well. So we sell actually little packs of these cubes, some with marinades, some without marinades. People like their own marinades. Some people the retail packs already have the marinades in them. So when you take it home for 15, 16 bucks, whatever the retailer sells it at, you have this would have given me 2 big salads for sure, even 3 if you wanted to stretch it. So it's not a bad price point that you have.
What does most restaurants put on for tuna? Like on a salad like that, 4 ounces or?
Oh
what'd you
yeah,
say?
yeah, 4 ounces. It matters if it's
3, 4.
the happy hour menu or not.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-4 ounces max. So you have garnish, but at the end of the day too, the garnish almost costs as much as the fish these days.
I was gonna
Avocado,
say
cucumber,
yeah.
it's expensive. It's expensive. So the more you stretch out like soybeans and such, the better it is. But that is always it's funny. Restaurants put seafood on there. If it's done well, it sells. If it doesn't do well, of course, it's just not, because people at home don't usually people are still scared to take this and take it home and do it, even though it's very simple, just because it's a seafood item, right? So they rely on the restaurants to do it. And that's what we always talk about. Restaurants can do good seafood and it'll sell if it's marketed properly and it's a tasty, fresh product. And that's where it comes frozen. Frozen is just fresher for you. You can keep it frozen in your restaurant until you need it. These come in pouches that you can defrost in a matter of 15 minutes. So if your service line, you're worried about it, you can defrost it pretty quickly for upcoming orders, right? So that is the important part. Now it is summer season, which means grilling season is upon us. That's why we sell so many skewers.
Lots of questions. Yeah.
Skewers. So we have pre-cooked and we have raw ones. These ones I just roasted them in the oven from raw, and we just did a little chimichurri sauce on them. Grilling is great. So I'm just going to take something off my screen here. People are texting away, and I can't see your beautiful face. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question for you though.
Yes.
So give us some practices on the grill this summer. Like what should people be doing? I have never, other than salmon, like in tinfoil or something like that.
So grill practices.
Yeah.
Just like you've always preheat your grill, right? You never stick something cold on the grill, right? So close the lid, super hot, scrub. The next step I always do, which I'm dumbfounded a lot of people don't do, is you wipe it with an oily Bounty or an oily rag that you're going to throw out, right? Oily, hot.
What kind of oil? What kind of oil?
Canola oil, just cheap veg oil, yeah. Your rag becomes black for a reason, because you just scrub that grill, right? It's always dirty. It's never always super clean. That oil cleans it off, and it also seasons the grill so things don't stick on it, right? So if you have a oily piece of fish or anything onto a hot, oily piece of grill, it'll never stick. Now, you got to be very careful what type of product you put on that grill. Salmon is great. You do the spoiled boats. You go straight onto the grill. Grill marks is okay for salmon, halibut. Other fish, you kind of get like the flaky, the double frozen cods and stuff, really sketchy. Skewers are easy. Kebabs are easy. They have a lot of technology now where they have those Teflon things, or even a parchment paper, so it doesn't stick on the grill. There's so many options for you. There's those racks and everything.
Yeah.
So hot grill, oiled product, season it, put it on there. Don't move it too much. You're good to go.
That's it.
It's super simple. Chicken, steaks, and then I always like to cook with one side of my grill off, so I have the option. If I'm roasting or baking potatoes or something on that side, it's just residual heat while I'm doing other stuff on this side, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of options. We can just do a whole show on grilling.
We'll do a grilling show one day. Back to seafood.
One of these days. So there's that. And then there's more initiatives on more fun products that are selling really well now. Make it seafoody. So you know how you go to a restaurant, you always have sliders. Everybody has sliders because people like it. Geez, it was almost it's almost $7-8 per slider now when you buy 3 of them, right? And then on happy hour it's like $5 each, right? Why not do mini little lobster rolls or mini shrimp rolls? It doesn't have to be these are tiny little ones, shrimp, mayonnaise,
so that's going to be way
sauce.
Cheaper then, because you're cutting it, right?
Yeah, you're cutting it cheap. Shrimp, well-sourced shrimp is still not. It is expensive when you start looking at it, but once you do things with it, it is pretty cost effective. You can do a crab and shrimp; it'll just stretch it that much better, right? So, but again, you can charge a hefty price for this because it is a seafood-based item, and people don't have it. When was the last time you made yourself a shrimp roll, Jay, or a crab roll? Right now, I mean it in the Boston sense of things, not in the sushi sense of things, like the Boston lobster roll, right? So honestly, I even just use a brioche hot dog bun, and I just cut the sides off and I sear it, right? Sear it off and then stuff it. Yeah. It looks great. It tastes great. It's very easy to do. I do crab all the time. We do lobster all the time. This is a shrimp version. We do shrimp and crab. I started really seeing a lot of people starting using roasted carrots and chickpeas to really pull their price budget down a little bit.
Does it say cost? Cut the cost, right?
Cut the cost, Sorry. People just keep texting me today. I apologize, guys.
Busy guy.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's okay, Jay. You just take me up on, a busy time at 11 o'clock here, 12 o'clock here. It's all good. Anything for Jay. You know that. So sourcing of it, of course, Cisco. Ask the questions. ASC, MSC, Oceanwise, organic, whatever you want to ask. The salesperson should have lots of information for you. Look at the back of the bag. There's always sodium tripoly in most shrimp. Some of them don't. Some of them have sea salt. So you should always be very wary of that as well. And shrimp is easy to use too because you can pre-poach it in a flavor for poaching liquid. I actually like to cool down my shrimp in that same poaching liquid. It doesn't dry out while it's cooling down in the fridge, right? So you can literally take raw shrimp, pour boiling court bouillon. It's like a flavored like stock of white wine, water, lemon juice, bay leaves, peppercorns, super hot. Pour it over your shrimp, stick it in the fridge. By the time everything's cooled down, your shrimp's cooked. And your shrimp doesn't dry out by the process of taking it out and letting it air dry and air cool in the fridge, right? This way it's cooling down naturally in the flavorful liquid. Because of osmosis, the liquid goes inside the shrimp. It gets a nice crispy and flavorful. It's just an easy way of doing it. And if you don't stick your hand in that liquid, that shrimp's going to be good for 3-4 days cooked in the fridge, right?
So what's some of the, with this whole non-alcohol thing, have you seen any seafood dishes paired with non-alcohol drinks right now, Chef?
Negative.
You haven't seen that
an
yet?
exciting thing. Like mocktails, or do you mean
Yeah,
like
the mocktails,
non-alcoholic
yeah.
wines? You know,
Like,
mocktails
no,
are
it's
getting
not-
very, very popular because you can still charge
Huge.
a lot for a mocktail.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no liquor in it. So yes, you can. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. So it's like me selling you a seafood dish without seafood in it, but that's okay. It's
True,
true. But that's okay. It's very doable. Dry, citrusy, fruity will go with seafood all the time. But really, Matt, I always have this problem. I say if you enjoy the drink, and then have your food with it as well. Sometimes it really won't eat well together, but at least you know you're enjoying your drink as well. Just because your drink matches this dish, you might not be enjoying that Chardonnay, right? You might be a Pinot Noir kind of guy.
So Chef, what's some of the
just enjoy your Pinot Noir?
So Chef, what's some of the, I guess, mistakes people make when they try to pair wine and seafood? Do they go with like is there like some of the mistakes that people do? Like what's some of the things?
There's a ton of not rules. It just makes perfect sense. When there's acid on your palate, the wine will taste different than when there's a fat on your palate, right? So so you can't say, oh, make sure you have this Chardonnay with this salmon dish. Well, that doesn't make any sense. If it's a citrusy salmon dish, that Chardonnay might go really acidic on you. But if it's a fatty salmon dish, that Chardonnay will be really toned down on your palate. So it's not a item kind of aspect of it. It's more of a balance of that dish aspect of it. So it's very hard to discuss. You must have a Pinot Gris with a salmon. It just doesn't make any sense. That's just my take on it, though. From drinking.
But is that a real thumb then? The acid and the fats in your tongue?
Absolutely. Acid, fat. There's a reason why there's cheese at your wine tastings when they're trying to sell you cheap wine, right? The cheese makes your cheap wine taste better because that fat is just coating your tongue. Absolutely, Jay. So
there you go.
Once
we just shared a tip how to save money.
There you go. Save money. Serve your friends some cheese and serve them some cheap wine. There you go. Right, but there's something to be said. Like I like my Pinot Noir. I'll drink my Pinot Noir. I don't have to have something in, like accompany it, but I'm not going to be having a spicy curry when I'm having my Pinot Noir. It just doesn't make any sense, right? A beer is going to be better for that. I'll enjoy my wine and then I'll enjoy my food separately.
So that's got to be the same with beef then. When you're in beef,
absolutely,
it's going to make your wine taste better because of the fat.
Absolutely. So saying you need a Zinfandel or a Merlot or a Shiraz with a certain protein, it doesn't really make it. Sure, it makes sense half the way, but then what are your accompaniments, right? Is it a risotto or is it like garlicky something or is it citrusy something? It's really going to make that taste very different. Right?
So that's got to be huge then when you're making menus and stuff like this based on how much wine you sell.
Very huge, but when you're making your menu, it's not like you're thinking your average Joe knows what it's going to accompany the wine with. Your average Joe is going to look at your wine menu and look at the cheapest wine and then tell himself, am I going to look cheap because I'm buying the cheapest wine in front of the server? I better have the second cheapest wine so I don't look
exactly.
cheap. And then they're going to have the second cheapest thing of like wine by the glass, right? And that's just how it happens. Sometimes I like the cheapest type of wine because I want that variety, but then you
Yeah.
have these thoughts in front of you, oh, my friend's going to think I'm being cheap. So it really, like, when you're making that wine menu, it's a whole different discussion on this, Jay. When you're making a wine paired 5-course meal, that's a whole different discussion. If you're a
Oh
high end
yeah.
place, that's a different thing. Anyway, I know me and you are talking right now. Maybe your viewers don't care or share my view.
But
I'm
that's
just
interesting. But like when you do a tasting menu or you do like a 5-course menu, then
That's
you
very
must be
different.
looking at
That's very
balance on
different.
all items then, right?
Absolutely.
Must be a
Like when I did
balance.
the 3 times I competed at the International Wine Festivals competition, where your dish
Yeah.
has to be paired with your wine. I won twice, and I won People's Choice once. And
Mhm.
like that same wine, and they send it to you ahead of time with that same protein, was very different with all the different accompaniments we had to make, right? So you can't have, oh, I'm going to do shrimp with this wine, it's just going to match, and I'm going to win. No, I
Wow.
had to change my accompaniments 3-4 times before I found something that goes really well with it. And it's funny, like almonds. Oh, add some almonds to your dish, it'll go really well with that, and it actually did, right? So there's all these little things that, when it comes to that aspect of it, very different. When it comes to, you have a food menu and you have a wine menu, and you think your guests are going to be able to match these things, that's what your sommelier is there for, right? So, but most of us don't have sommeliers at our restaurants, do we?
No,
But anyway,
not at all.
any
Not
any
at
more
all.
any more any more questions you have for me, Jay?
No,
Or is that,
that's
what was
you know
that
what
enjoyable?
that's
Eh?
all for today.
That's a whole
So
discussion.
it's
It's a
a whole
whole
discussion. Well,
discussion, Jay. I'm
I think
sorry.
it's
I'm
interesting.
sorry.
I find it so
I'm
well.
sorry.
I see tasting menus coming out back, like the chef table, these
Yep,
prepaid tasting menu
absolutely.
nights. They're all coming
Which is
back, which
amazing.
I
That's a
kind of like
whole
them.
other level.
I
That's a
kind of
whole
like it.
other level. Absolutely.
I
And you
like
and
it
you
though.
and those chefs know what they're up to, and they know what they're doing, and they'll match their wine with that dish. Great. But that discussion of what wine variety you should have with a shrimp, unfortunately, it just doesn't exist properly anyway.
Have I asked you what your favorite seafood is?
It changes all the time, Che. Changes
What's
all the
this
time.
week? What's this week?
Oh, I'm not, I'm all over the tuna pokies these days, man. It's summer.
Oh yeah.
It's starting to get a little warmer. It's easier to make. Absolutely, it's delicious. You got a little bit of carbs in there. You got that acidity, and you get the yeah. It's a little bit more fresher for sure. Yeah. Right now it's tuna and stuff. I usually switch between clam for clam chowders, and then
Serious.
yeah, coho salmon when I'm baking stuff at home. Yeah,
Hey, we had
yeah.
Shucker Patty on the show last week.
You had shuckerbat. I do enjoy myself an oyster with some caviar on it. Let's be honest here. Yeah,
Shucker Patty likes a lot
yeah,
of oysters too.
yeah. It's a
Yes, he
lot of
does.
oysters. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yes,
sure
he
he
does.
does. With a name like that, I'm sure he does. But
So we have the
tons and
website
tons
up
to
here,
discuss. Oh, that's me. Yeah, Oshamama.
oceanmama.ca.
Oshamama.ca.
We have
That'll
check
also
it
lead
out.
you to a ton of recipes on our YouTube page, actually. Some stuff
Did
like
you
this,
do?
chowders and dips, and yeah, shrimp
I think it's you and
gyozas.
Ned Bell. I see you and Ned Bell in there.
Me and Ned Bell went and visited Vietnam, absolutely, to look at a shrimp farm, and we went to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of shrimp farming. And like everything, there's good and bad, right? So there's organic, there's 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star BAP, there's ASC, there's MSC. So there's a whole world of the same shrimp farmed differently with different sustainabilities, all in one little town, right, in one little country. So it's
There
a
you go.
ton of information. So those videos are up there of me and Ned talking about that and looking at black tigers and what the sustainability part of that is.
There you go.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thanks,
that's
Chef.
it.
Thanks
My
again for
pleasure.
teaching us a little bit more about seafood and for the summer. I'm blown away by
Our
the
pleasure.
acid and fats on your tongue. That
Acid
got
and
me.
fats on your tongue. Absolutely. Try it out.
Sounds like an 80s song.
It's an 80s song for acid. Oh, jeez, Louise. But try it out. The worst thing that can happen, you're gonna overcook your shrimp. Who cares? My boss actually loves overcooked shrimp. I have to overcook his shrimp for him.
Really?
God forbid. The first couple of years, I did not understand that, and he didn't enjoy it. Now I overcook his shrimp. Everything's lovely. It's
There
fine.
you go.
It's just different taste palates, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Chef, and to everyone else. Have a great
Our
rest of your
pleasure.
day, and
Thanks, Jay.
check out oceanmama. Is it Ocean Mama or Ocean Mama Seafood?
Oceanmama.ca. Oceanmama Seafood, but Oceanmama.ca.
There you go. Google it. All right.
Googly
Thanks,
moogly.
Chef.
Thank you, Jay. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye bye.